Alright, what is going on, guys? My name is Leon Master. Welcome back to another Overwatch League video, and today, guys, we are going to be starting another series on the channel. It's going to be a short one, not a super long series, but basically it's called What's Next for the team I'm going to be talking about, and we're going to talk about the Boston Uprising today. And basically, if you've been here for a while, last year around this exact same time, actually, I did these things called team predictions. It's basically going to be the same thing as this, but a tiny bit different, where I'll talk about more things and go a little bit in more depth with the roster and what they should do about it. Obviously, this is more of a fun video. I don't think they should be doing exactly everything I'm saying. And I'm also trying to get into the mindset of how their teams work. You know, Boston Uprising is very weird. They try to find their unknown players, but also sometimes some known, go very cheap and see how it goes for them. Season 1's been the best for them so far, everything else not so much. But I think this season, we've said this all the time for Boston, but I think this season, there's potential for them to actually work some stuff out with Contenders players that people don't really watch. You know, honestly, Contenders has had a very, very low viewer rate than usual. Obviously, YouTube's made it worse. Like, they normally average around like 500, 600 viewers on Contenders. So a lot of Contenders players these days are very unknown, but if you watch it, you most likely know who these Contenders players are. I am listing, but if you don't, hey, it's a little cool stuff we're going to talk about today. So basically, what I'm going to talk about in this video today, for the rest of the videos, by the way, for what's next for whatever team, I'm basically going to go over the roster, who they should keep, who they should release, trade, whatever, and maybe do it for the staff a little bit. Not all the time, because staff is all the organization. That's all. I don't know how those coaches coach all the time. I don't know what they do behind the scenes. Who knows? Mineral could be a good guy, but a bad coach, and they'll still keep him. But I highly doubt they're going to keep Mineral again for this season. At least I hope not. Let's talk about Boston Uprising. Let's talk about what they should do and what they shouldn't do. Keep in mind one more time, this is all a fun video. Nothing super personal if anyone from Boston Uprising is watching this. It's just a fun video. To start off pretty hard on them, so far, Boston Uprising roster they have right now, release everyone instead of Axiom. And I'll have my reasons why. Color Hex has had 2 really bad seasons so far for him. When it came to GOATs, he was not flexible enough, even when he had to play Sombra sometimes. And even Azari was very poor. One of the worst Azaris in the league. And then when 222 comes in, he's still not the best on some of his famous DPS characters he plays, you know, such as Hanzo, Genji, and even the Pharah a little bit, what he was kind of known for. Then when we come to Season 3, I think we expect a little bit more from Color Hex, but it's still the exact same. We see really poor performances from him. Fusions, I understand why they kept Fusions again, see if he'll pop off again like he did at the beginning of Season 2. You know, beginning of Season 2 was very strong for Fusions, really changing the Boston Uprising, but ever since Stage 2 really ended, it's been a downhill ever since. You don't really see Fusions talking as much anymore, and I feel like Fusions could go to a different team, maybe. We'll see where that goes. Honestly, I think Fusion still is Overwatch League level, but it depends on what team he goes to pop off. Myeonbong, we know what's going to happen to Myeonbong. He has been built up this season to be one of the best off sports for how he's been doing on Boston. He's going to go to a different team 100%. We'll just see where that goes to. Now with Jerry, I think Jerry's also built himself up a little bit more as well. We've talked about Jerry before for fun videos like Hangzhou Spark or maybe even the London Spitfire he could go to. I think Jerry for sure will be in the Overwatch League again next season, but I really don't want to see him on Boston. But if they do keep him, that's alright. Halo's been the worst main support in the Overwatch League this season. I don't know anything about behind the scenes. Obviously, we do know that he was a great ringer for the San Francisco Shock, but other than that, Halo's not impressed anyone, especially me, with his main support play. He's been very weak on all supports, and maybe his Lucio has been his best, but he's been very underwhelming as a player. Punk actually has been really great for the Boston Uprising. If they do keep him, that's great. I think Punk could also go to different Overwatch League teams, and maybe like Toronto Defiant maybe, or another team. But we'll see where that goes for Punk. If they do keep Punk, that's good for them. But I feel like, honestly, they should do a full release and, you know, come back in. Mikey, we didn't really see Mikey play that much. He played like 1 or 2 maps on ball, and it was alright. Nothing much to really talk about from him. But if they keep him for next season, we'll see where that goes. Axiom's been unfortunate for 2 seasons now. Season 2, he had to play Zari for the team. He was going to play, but then they figured out Fusions was on a 2-way, and they had to sign him full because Fusions was a shot caller, and they put Fusions in. But I think Axiom still has a potential to be a really good main tank. To my knowledge, he still plays the game a lot, so I think Axiom, hopefully he just starts next season if they do keep him. I think Axiom is the only person I think should stay, and he still has a lot of potential. If you've seen him in Contenders, the times he did play years ago at this point, he's very good. And obviously, we can talk about the staff all we want, but if we're going to be real, just honestly find a new head coach. Now, we'll talk about a new head coach at the very end. So now to build a new Boston Uprising roster. This is all a fun video. I'm getting into their mindset where they find somewhat unknown players. They could promote players from their academy team, and that's basically all it is. We get into the mindset, find unknown, maybe cheap players, and Contenders is seen as well. So first off, we're gonna talk about some DPS players, and the first DPS player that's 100% gonna happen is I'm37 on their team. They have kept I'm37 on Boston Academy for a hot minute now, and they loaned him to some teams. Which when I see players on academy teams being loaned to other teams, that almost is like a dead giveaway they're going to keep them, because as we see right now with Paris Eternal, their Eternal Academy team, they've been keeping Muse on that roster. He's literally the only person on the Eternal Academy roster, and he's loaned to other teams so he keeps playing. Muse has been one of the best main tanks, and he will be promoted to Paris Eternal, and I think we'll see that with I'm37. I'm37 has been doing really good on contenders so far. Pretty good. I wouldn't say he's been insane, but I think I'm37 is most likely going to get a full promotion. And also, so is Wavefast. I think Wavefast has also been pretty impressive in ranked in general, and also in contenders when we have seen them. Obviously, Uprising Academy has been pretty poor, but I feel like you can also look at the coaching staff for that, and they have been changing their coaching staff every now and then recently, because they actually have a somewhat solid roster for contenders. A few more changes, and they could actually be pretty good. And Wavefast, I can 100% see I'm37 and Wavefast being promoted to their main roster. And for the Flex DPS, it was actually pretty hard to find a Flex DPS. I was on stream talking about them, but the only Flex DPS I think they could sign is N2S. I think there's actually a good way to say that. I'm just going to say N2S. I think he actually is a pretty good Flex DPS. No one really talks about as much, and he could be a next best Flex DPS player, next good one at least, for the Boston Uprising no one really knows about. So I think that's a good DPS start. I'm37, Wavefast, and N2S. I think that really fits Boston Uprising on how they build players and find unknowns, especially I'm37. I'm pretty sure I'm37 is 100% going on Boston Uprising. If not, well, we'll see where that goes. Now onto the main tanks. There is 4 main tanks I'm talking about here. One of them's Axiom already, and there is one I don't think is going to join the Boston Uprising. We'll talk about him later. But the 2 main tanks I do have written down are Niche and Doge. And Doge is on Slept On and Niche is on Triumph. And I was also, like I said, with main tanks, I really couldn't find one specific main tank, so I listed main tanks they could sign. Niche has been really good all of his times through contenders and open division, improving a lot each team he's gone to. He's been speedrunning teams, honestly. He's been really good. I feel like they could sign him. He's been pretty unknown, I feel like. Same thing goes with Doge. He just recently came up with Slept On. They've won contenders so far. And I think Doge has potential. Now, the other person I have written down, I don't really think he will go to Boston, but there's also a chance, is Salieri. I don't think Salieri will join Boston, but I'm still going to have him written down. The only team I see Salieri really joining is Houston, and when we talk about Houston, I will say my reasonings why Salieri will most likely be going to Houston, but we'll talk about that later. And like I said, Axiom as well. So those 3 main tanks are the ones I have written down. We'll see where that goes. I think the first 2 I said, Niche and Doge, will probably be the most likely options for Boston Uprising, but we will see what happens with the main tank situation in the future. Now onto the off tanks, flex tanks, whatever you want to say. I have 2 written down. It is False and also Icy. False is on the Academy team, which could be easily promoted. I think False has been pretty solid so far in contenders, and Icy has been good almost every season contenders he's been in so far. But I think, if anything, Icy would probably go to a different team. But if he goes to Boston, that would be good too. I'm pretty sure, I may be wrong though, is Icy has worked with Huck before in the past. So potentially Icy could go to Boston. He could be one of the next best off tanks, I feel like. So that's really it. Nothing much really to say. These guys are both solid off tanks. Now to the off sport, it's pretty obvious who the off sport's going to be is Aztec on their Academy team as well. One of the next best off sports in contenders, I feel like. At least he's been pretty solid so far in contenders, and I feel like he could be the next best thing in Overwatch League if he's built up properly. So Aztec going to be the next off sport, and another main sport is all promotions, by the way, is Dredro. He has been actually pretty solid in contenders every time I've watched them. Very good player on Montreal Rebellion and also on Uprising Academy. Obviously, Uprising Academy has not gone to contenders, so this looks pretty weird for me to say these things, but I'm saying mostly the good players that have been in Uprising Academy. Dredro's been good in his past and now. Aztec's been really good. I'm37's been solid. Wavefast, False. They're all really good players I feel like Boston should promote. But honestly, let's not expect anything from Boston Uprising. So yeah, that is the team I have written out. It's I'm37, Wavefast, and N2S for the DPS. Main tanks, there's a list of main tanks: Niche, Doge, Salieri, Axiom. Most likely Niche or Doge, that will be the main tanks. Flex tanks is Icy and False. And then the off supports, Aztec, main support, Dredro. And the head coach I have written down. Y'all may not like this one, but knowing how Boston Uprising does their things, I think the head coach could potentially be Tickety, who has recently left Dallas Fuel, obviously with everything going on. I honestly couldn't find another head coach that would probably take Boston's contract. I don't think Arrow would do it. I think Arrow would rather be an assistant coach or content creator, as he has said. Mask, who has previously worked with Hangzhou Spark, I don't think he would take Boston. I think Tickety would, because he's been an assistant coach for so long, hasn't worked as a head coach, and I think he somewhat enjoyed being a team candidate coach, even though he said he didn't do a good job. I feel like he wants to work on being a head coach, so I feel like Boston could give him a chance on that, and Tickety would be a head coach with these guys. Do I think it's a good Head coach? No. But knowing Boston Uprising, they would probably sign Tickety as a head coach and make him work on his stuff. Now, when it comes to assistant coaches, that's not really my play field or sandbox. I don't know the right word for it, but you get what I'm trying to say. Assistant coaches and all the other stuff is really up to the org. I threw this head coach out there, though, because knowing Boston Uprising, they probably could sign Tickety as the head coach. So, yeah, guys, that is it with my what's next for Boston Uprising. Obviously, this is all going to be wrong. We're going to come back to this in 6 months and laugh at it, and look how wrong I was, and I was, once again, expecting something good from Boston. But who knows what they could do. They could make something like this of I'm 37 and Aztec and Dredro. Who knows? But we'll see what happens. Anyways, guys, it's going to be it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to join my Discord down below. Also, don't forget to follow my Twitter and my Twitch. And don't forget to hit that bell. And don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below. And I'll see you guys on the next one.